to ASMR ghost stories. If you enjoy getting just a little scared with paranormal, mysterious stories such as that, all told in either soft spoken or whispered, welcome. You've come to the right channel. So before you do put on your headphones to get that lovely ASMR experience, hit the subscribe button and the like button. It really does help. Also, click on that notification bell because I do upload twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays. So we're going to go ahead and jump into today. We're talking about the ghosts of Tombstone, Arizona. The streets of Tombstone themselves are said to be the pathways of many a lingering spirit, one of which is the long dead Marshal Fred White, who was accidentally shot by cowboy faction leader Curly Bill on October the 28th, 1880. White, the first Marshal of Tombstone, had gained the respect of the Clanton gang and, in fact, had arrested quote unquote cowboy members on several occasions, rarely having any problems when doing so. In the early morning of October 28th, Curly Bill and several of his cohorts were making sport by shooting up the town. When White went to disarm the gunman, a shot was accidentally fired, hitting White in the groin. Though it was thought that he would make a full recovery, 2 days later he died. Today he is said to haunt the street in front of the shooting site, which was an empty lot where the Birdcage Theater was built a year later. Another ghostly cowboy, that of a man moving along in a long black frock coat, has also been seen on several occasions. Crossing the road, the apparition is often seen near the site where Virgil Earp was ambushed and shot in the arm, crippling him for life. The spirit never makes it across the street, leading many to believe that this may be the ghost of Virgil Earp himself. A woman in a long white dress has also been spied on Tombstone streets. One legend tells that she is a fretful mother whose child died from yellow fever in the 1880s and was devastated. She later took her own life. Another version of the tale claims that she was a brothel madam who was hanged and continues to stalk the streets, searching for her executioners. Lawlessness, though, was not the only cause of numerous deaths during Tombstone's heydays. Twice it suffered terrible fires. The first in June 1881, and a second in May 1882. During these two infernos, which both wiped out significant business district areas, more than 40 men lost their lives in the crowded saloons and brothels that burned to the ground. These long dead, suffering men are also said to make themselves known, appearing complete with drastic burns. Others have reported the smell of smoke and burning materials when there is no explainable reason. Tombstone's most famous place, the OK Corral, was the site of the best-known gunfight in the Old West. Portrayed in dozens of Western films and books, the gunfight made a legend of Wyatt Earp and brought Tombstone, Arizona, fame. After tensions had been building between the Earps and the cowboy faction in Tombstone for some time, Marshal Virgil Earp determined to disarm the men on October the 26th, 1881, resulting in the 30-second shootout, which left Frank and Tom McClory, as well as Billy Clanton, dead. Also involved in the gunfight for the Cowboys were Ike Clanton, Billy Claiborne, and Wes Fuller. In the Earp party were brothers Virgil, Wyatt, and Morgan, as well as Doc Holliday. Today, the OK Corral is allegedly haunted by the Cowboys' ghosts over the years. Several witnesses have reported seeing the fading apparitions of men dressed in cowboy attire, often appearing with guns drawn, perhaps locked into a perpetual battle with the Earps. Others have claimed to have felt numerous cold spots in various areas of the corral. The OK Corral is at 308 East Allen Street. At the nearby Boot Hill Graveyard, called such because many of its occupants died with their boots on, more than 250 graves give partial stories of the Tombstone's lawless past. Used primarily from 1878 to 1884, the graveyard was originally called the Tombstone Cemetery. Men such as those killed at the OK Corral gunfight, Marshal Fred White killed by Curly Bill, an unfortunate soul by the name of George Johnson, who was hanged by mistake. 5 men hanged for the vicious killings labeled the Bisbee Massacre. Shortly afterwards, prisoners began seeing the specter of a huge black dog padding the jail's corridors, a specter they became convinced was the sorcerer come back to take revenge on those who'd eaten him. Sure enough, the dog began to hunt down and consume those responsible for that crime. The remaining prisoners who'd scoffed the sorcerer were so terrified they plotted to break out of the jail and managed to escape by unaliving some guards. But while they were free of Newgate, they were not free of the dog. One by one, the black dog sought them out, unalived them and ate them. The first written evidence for this story appears in a publication with a woodcut cover dated 1596 and entitled The Discovery of a London Monster Called the Black Dog of Newgate, profitable for all readers to take heed by. The legend is probably, however, older than this. The pamphlet's author is one Luke Hutton, an inmate of Newgate who claimed a stranger, a poor thin good fellow, had once narrated the tale to him in the Black Dog public house. Upon concluding his terrifying account, the stranger tells Hutton the legend is untrue, saying the only black dog in Newgate is a great black stone standing in the dungeon called Limbo, the place where the condemned prisoners are put after their judgment, against which some anguished felons have dashed their brains out. Hutton appears to have written the pamphlet as a morality tale to draw attention to prison conditions and the behaviors of his fellow inmates during a period in which life in Newgate was especially appalling. Hutton dedicated the booklet to Lord Chief Justice John Popham, I think I said that right, in the hope its moral message might help secure his release, which it seems to have done. Despite such skepticism, the black dog has been sighted in and around Newgate over the centuries, especially on evenings before executions. Within the prison, there once was an alleyway called Dead Man's Walk. The snicket acquired its name because condemned criminals walked down it to their executions. The names of all the convicts who plotted this grim passage were etched into its walls, and many were buried under its flagstones. Dead Man's Walk was demolished along with the rest of the prison in 1904. Where it ran is, however, close to Amen Court, a precinct attached to St. Paul's Cathedral containing canons' houses. Part of Amen Court is bounded by what was once a wall of Newgate. Amen Court is said to be haunted by Newgate's black dog. The specter appears as a shapeless black form which glides around the court and nearby streets and slithers along the top of the prison's remaining wall. The ghost gives off a disgusting stink and is often accompanied by the sound of footsteps dragging, a noise reminiscent of prisoners trudging to their deaths. Number 2, the Barkist of Yorkshire, a sinister black dog and herald of death. A particularly ominous black dog, the Barkist, can be found in the folklore of Yorkshire and northeast England. The Barkist heralds death. If a Barkist lays down across the threshold of your house, it's a sign you'll pass away soon. If a person of local importance is about to die, the Barkist will appear, and all the other dogs in the neighborhood will fall in behind it in a kind of funeral procession, barking and howling mournfully. If, while the Barkist is leading its solemn parade, anyone obstructs it, the dog will gouge them with its claws, leaving wounds that never heal. In his notes on the folklore of the northern counties of England and the borders, 1879, William Henderson recalled that his informant, a Yorkshire gentleman lately deceased, said he perfectly remembered the terror he experienced when a child at beholding this procession for the death of a certain Squire Wade of Newgrange. A Barkist is said to haunt Troller's Gill, a lonely limestone gorge southeast of Grassington in the Yorkshire Dales. A ballad, The legend of Troller's Gill is recorded in William Hone's Everyday Book, 1830. This folk song tells of a man who clambered up to the horrid gill of the limestone hill to try to summon the Barkist with ritual magic. The man's body was found with uncanny maul marks on its breast. Another Barkist was rumored to prowl a tract of wasteland called the Oxwells between Reghorn and Headingley Hill near Leeds. Some argue Barkist comes from the term Bargeist or Bergeist, meaning mountain ghost. Others claim the name derived from Burgest or town ghost. Perhaps both etymologies are right, as the Barkist seems equally comfortable in the countryside and the city. It's whispered that a Barkist haunts York, preying after dark on lone wanderers in the city's winding narrow alleys known as Snickleways. With its massive jaws and yellow fangs, the dog devours these wayfarers. A Barkist is rumored to roam Whitby, the coastal town that appears in Bram Stoker's Dracula. In the Whitby section of the novel, the Count transforms into an enormous black dog, a beast that may have been inspired by local Barkist legends. The Barkist also roves the moors around Whitby. Locals say if you're unlucky enough to hear its chilling howl at night, it means death is coming soon. Soon claim you'll pass away before dawn. Though usually depicted as a large, shaggy black dog with blazing red or green eyes, the Barkist has shape-shifting powers. In Northumberland and County Durham, the Barkist can appear as a type of household elf. A Barkist that lived close to Darlington could manifest as a headless man who'd vanish in a flash of a flame, a headless woman, a white cat, and even an unearthly rabbit. The Barkist can also make itself invisible. Perhaps this shape-shifting ability is reflected in the fact some think its name originates from Bargeist or bear ghost. Others, though, maintain, again referencing the animal's links with death, that Bargeist comes from Bargeist, meaning ghost of the funeral bier. Some say the Barkist is accompanied by the sound of rattling chains, and that, like vampires, the beast can't cross running water. Number 3, the Catrash of Northern England, an ambiguous shapeshifter with a Bronte connection. The Catrash is a black dog that lingers by the lonely moorland and marsh roads, forest paths, and high passes of northern England. Often malevolent, the dog delights in leading travelers dangerously astray, but sometimes it can be helpful, guiding them onto safe tracks. Like its cousin, the Barkist, the Catrash is a shapeshifter and can appear as a crane, mule, or horse. In its equine aspect, the Catrash is known in Yorkshire and Lincolnshire as the shagfowl, a phantom horse, mule, or donkey with burning eyes. In this form, the creature is utterly wicked. The Catrash could be partly a personification of the dangers that plagued travelers in the days of substandard unlit roads, highwaymen, and unreliable maps and methods of transport. The Catrash, again like the Barkist, can be a portent of doom. According to the English Dialect Dictionary, the Catrash could adopt the guise of an evil cow, whose appearance was formerly believed in as a sign of death. The most famous mention of the Catrash, and possibly the first ever committed to print, occurs in Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre. Before Jane's first meeting with the Byronic hero Mr. Rochester, out in a lonely country lane, she's reminded of the spooky tales she heard of this black dog. Quote, "As this horse approached, and as I watched for it to appear through the dusk, I remembered certain of Bessie's tales, wherein figured a north of England spirit called a Catrash, which, in the form of a horse, mule, or large dog, haunted solitary ways, and sometimes came upon belated travelers, as this horse was now coming upon me. It was very near, but not yet in sight, when in addition to the tramp, I heard a rush under the hedge, and close down by the hazel stems glided a great dog, whose black and white color made him a distinct object against the trees. It was exactly one form of Bessie's Catrash, a lion-like creature with long hair and a huge head, with strange Peterkinine eyes. The horse followed a tall steed, and on its back a rider. The man, the human being, broke the spell at once. Nothing ever wrote the Catrash. It was always alone. And so, these fearsome Catrashes turned out to be Mr. Rochester's utterly ordinary horse and harmless dog, Pilot. Charlotte Bronte uses the scene with the Catrash to subtly mock the overly romantic and Gothic associations Jane will soon attach to Rochester. Having said that, Rochester is, in some ways, like Catrash, a dark, haunted, spectral, often solitary character prone to shifting shape and generating illusion. It's also interesting that Jane's formed her ideas of the Catrash from the stories of her maid Bessie. In Victorian culture, servants were often assigned the function of transmitters of folklore, reflecting the notion that in a world scarred by industrialization and filled with mechanical progress, the lower orders still retained a vital connection with the mythic past. Jane says, "All sorts of fancies, bright and dark, tenant my mind. The memories of nursery stories were there amongst other rubbish, and when they recurred, maturing youth added to them a vigor and vividness beyond what childhood could give." Charlotte wasn't the only Bronte whose literary output was influenced by the Catrash. Branwell's Bronte wrote a short story called Thurstons of Darkwall. Branwell's tale, based around Pondon Hall, a real-life house which may have been a model for Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights. Their necks when nobody is around. The Beaufort House is at 113 East Stafford Street. At Schieffelin Hall, a building constructed in 1881 to bring culture to Tombstone, more ghosts are thought to remain here. Built by Al Schieffelin, brother to Tombstone's founder Ed Schieffelin, and I apologize if I'm not saying the names correctly. The hall was envisioned as a first-class opera house offering culture to Tombstone citizens for the first time, and that it did for the next several decades. offering a theater alternative to the decadent Birdcage Theater, where the proper people of Tombstone wouldn't be seen. The hall opened in June of 1881 to grand applause as the largest and most imposing building in Tombstone and the largest adobe building anywhere in the Southwest, attracting theater troupes from as far away as New York. Tombstone's finest enjoyed the productions, as well as balls, boxing matches, lectures, and more. According to news accounts of the time, it soon gained a reputation as the most noted theater between San Antonio and San Francisco. However, when Tombstone suffered, so did Shiflin Hall. By the early 1900s, the hall was showing the new moving pictures and a few scattered productions. But Tombstone's heydays were over, and for the next half century, the hall would be used only by the Masonic Lodge as it gradually fell into disrepair with the rest of the once booming town. Fully restored today, it is said to continue to host several spirits. In fact, some say it is one of the most haunted but overlooked buildings in Tombstone. On several occasions, people have heard what sound like chains or spurs rattling inside the building. In fact, during one ghost tour, an entire group heard the sounds. Several other strange sounds have also been heard in the building, especially during Tombstone City Council meetings that regularly occur in the building. One does wonder if perhaps they protest because seemingly those meetings are so heated that one might wonder if they have reverted to the 19th century. Big Kate's Saloon. And this popular saloon of today first got its start as the Grand Hotel in September 1880. Declared as one of the finest hotels in the state, the hotel was luxuriously furnished, provided thick carpeting, and its walls were adorned with costly oil paintings. Providing 16 bedrooms, each with a view, they were fitted with solid walnut furnishings, toilet stands, fine fixtures, and wallpaper. The lobby was equipped with 3 elegant chandeliers and more luxurious furnishings. At the same time, the kitchen boasted hot and cold running water and facilities to serve some 500 people in the span of a couple of hours. The hotel opened with an invitation-only ball on September 9th, 1880. During its first few years, the hotel often housed some of Tombstone's most famous residents, including Wyatt and Virgil Earp, Doc Holliday, and the Clanton gang when they came into town. In fact, Ike Clanton and the 2 McLaury brothers were registered guests the night before the famous OK Corral gunfight. Another interesting character living at the hotel during its heydays was a man they called the Swamper, a janitor and an odd job man at the hotel. The Swamper was regarded as an honest employee and was given accommodations as part of his pay. His bedroom, located in a dark corner of the basement, not only served as a retreat from the hotel's many customers, but also his own private mine shaft. The basement, located deep below Tombstone streets, was not too far from the many mine shafts that ran beneath the town. Swamper painstakingly spent his off hours tunneling an entrance from his bedroom to the nearby mine shafts for some time. When his tunnel was complete, he could access a thick vein of silver where he began to moonlight as a miner, taking from the vein silver nugget after silver nugget. What he did after hoarding the silver is unknown, but many believe it may still be hidden somewhere beneath Big Kate's saloon. Alas, the Grand Hotel's luxurious life would be a short one, as she did not survive the devastating fire of May 25th, 1882. Above ground, the only things that remained standing were her 7 graceful arches and her floor joists on the main level. The rest of the building collapsed into the basement. Today, the building is home to Big Nose Kate's Saloon. Several changes have been made to the original structure since it burned down and has been rebuilt. The bar area, which was originally housed in the old hotel's basement, is now located on the main level. In the basement is a gift shop, but the tunnel leading to the mine shaft still exists. The saloon holds the Grand Hotel's original long bar, the only one of which survived the fire of 1882, and it's still available for thirsty patrons. The only other long bar that survived the 2 infernos is the Birdcage Theater, now a museum. Imagine setting your elbows down on the very place that once did the Earps, Doc Holliday, and the Clantons. Today, not only does this historic saloon continue to be popular among its patrons, but it is also said to remain home to a couple of spectral ones as well. Naturally, the most evident is that of the Swamper, who allegedly has never left the building. Staff, locals, and tourists have had experiences with this old miner, ranging from photos where he has appeared to several fleeting appearances as he roams the halls, stairways, and especially the basement. Part of the legend claims that the Swamper hid his silver somewhere in the building and returns to protect it. Other appearances have been made by fleeting cowboy spirits seen at the bar, standing in doorways, and by one account, knocking over beer cases in the basement. Perhaps this is one of our old friends, the Earps or Holiday. Other witnesses have claimed to have heard phantom people singing and talking in deserted rooms, reported that things fall to the floor of their own accord, doors open and close with unseen hands, lights turn on and off by themselves, silverware has been known to go flying off tables. The mannequins on the false balcony have seemingly been moved and sometimes even tossed from the balcony. The sounds of footsteps and muted voices are often heard coming from the basement when no one is down there. Areas in the saloon also experience extreme cold spots and gusts of cold air. Photographers have made numerous reports of strange hazy forms appearing in images, as well as numerous camera malfunctions. One story tells of the building's owner and several employees exploring an old swamper's tunnel. They soon discovered that it still led all the way to the old shafts of the Tough Nut mine. They made their way back to the basement, but as they approached Swamper's tunnel, they heard a loud moaning sound and heavy footsteps coming down the stairs leading to the tunnel. Sure that someone had come into the building, they came out of the tunnel, immediately searching the premises, only to find the building empty and the doors still locked. Perhaps Swamper was afraid they were going to find his silver. Other strange events have occurred on the staircases leading to the basement, including female employees who have felt pushed off the last stair. Another female employee felt cold, clammy hands encircling her throat. Whatever you do, don't let the ghost scare you, because the atmosphere and food at Big Kate's saloons are wonderful, and the place is a must stop in Tombstone. The restaurant slash saloon is located at 417 East Allen Street. There are yet more hauntings in Tombstone, such as a ghost who allegedly haunts room 119 at the old Tombstone Hotel. Sometime in the past, a man evidently hanged himself in the room, and now guests report hearing voices and witnessing objects moving in the room. A ghostly man in a frock coat has been seen wandering near the old Wells Fargo Bank building, while others have reported seeing the apparitions of stage drivers and cowboys. In front of the recreated CS Fly studio, people have reported smelling perfume when there is none present. At the renovated Crystal Palace Saloon, people say the ghost of Big Nose Kate continues to lurk. Evidently, when she lived in Tombstone, the establishment was one of her favorites. Today's staff and customers have reported the unexplainable movement of objects to different locations, lights that turn on and off by themselves, and gambling wheels that spin of their own accord. According to the tales, Kate is not alone in the building, as yet others have spied phantom cowboys at the bar and walking around the saloon. And there you have it. Have you been to Tombstone? Have you seen the movie, which is one of my favorites? So, if you have a comment or suggestion, comment below. And if you have a suggestion for a story, you can comment below or email me. My email is in the description box. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope you stay just a little bit scared. Until next time.